#6 Star Trek, The Next Generation Season 1 episodes you can completely skip. Star Trek, The Next Generation is one of the most beloved science fiction series of all time, but let's be honest, Season 1 was rocky. It was 1987. Gene Roddenberry was trying to recapture the magic of the original Star Trek with a new crew, a bigger budget, and a futuristic moral compass. The cast hadn't quite found their footing. The writing often teetered between philosophical and baffling, and the special effects, well, they were ambitious for their time. Still, buried in the awkward pacing and questionable scripts of Season 1 are glimmers of the greatness that would define TNG in later seasons. But some episodes? You can skip them. No harm. No loss. Whether you're a first-time viewer or revisiting the Enterprise D, these 6 episodes add little to the larger narrative and might leave you more confused than inspired. 1. Code of Honor Episode 4. Skip level. Absolutely necessary. Code of Honor isn't just a weak TNG episode, it's infamously one of the worst in the franchise's history. A bizarre mix of bad writing, uncomfortable racial undertones, and cringe-inducing performances, this episode feels like it was plucked from a 1950s pulp magazine and shoved into the 24th century. The plot centers around the Enterprise visiting the planet Ligon 2, where the crew must negotiate for a vaccine critical to a Federation planet. But instead of diplomacy, we get a mock tribal society with outdated stereotypes and a bizarre kidnapping of Tasha Yar, leading to a duel to the death between 2 women for the right to marry the planet's leader. Even Patrick Stewart has openly admitted the cast was uncomfortable filming it. The episode was so poorly received that the director was fired mid-production. If you're marathoning TNG, skipping Code of Honor is not just acceptable, it's advisable. 2. Angel 1, Episode 14. Skip level, high. On paper, Angel 1 attempts to flip the gender power structure to make a social commentary. Unfortunately, it's so clumsily handled that it ends up as a clunky, patronizing mess. The crew visits a planet run by women, where men are treated as second-class citizens. Rather than using the opportunity for genuine feminist commentary, the episode devolves into a borderline farce, with Riker strutting around in an outfit that looks like it came from a disco-themed Halloween party. Meanwhile, back on the Enterprise, a subplot involving a virus begins and fizzles out with no real payoff. Nothing significant is learned about the characters, and the story doesn't tie into anything in the long run. There's no compelling reason to endure 45 minutes of awkward matriarchal politics and half-hearted character drama. The only reason to watch it would be to laugh at the unintentional campiness. Otherwise, boldly skip. 3. Justice, Episode 8. Skip level, severe, imagine paradise, until you accidentally step on the grass and are sentenced to death. Welcome to Justice, one of the most unintentionally hilarious disasters in TNG's first season. The Enterprise crew visits a planet inhabited by scantily clad, pleasure-loving people called the Edo. Everything is peace and love, until Wesley Crusher accidentally breaks a law by falling into a flowerbed. Unfortunately for him, the punishment for any crime is death. This could have been a powerful story about cultural relativism and prime directive dilemmas. But the tone is so off, the costumes so absurd, and the logic so broken that it becomes difficult to take anything seriously. Captain Picard's moral crisis about saving Wesley feels more like frustration than conviction. While it does technically touch on the Prime Directive, it doesn't do it well. Save your brain cells, skip Justice. 4. The Naked Now, Episode 3. Skip level, moderate. This episode is a callback to the original series' The Naked Time, but it ends up feeling like fanfiction gone awry. When the Enterprise crew is infected with a virus that lowers inhibitions, things spiral into chaos. While it's amusing to see the usually stoic Data seduced by a very forward Tasha Yar, "You are fully functional, aren't you?" and hear Picard shout at Wesley in full exasperated dad mode, the episode comes way too early in the show's run. We barely know these characters yet, so watching them behave out of character doesn't land with emotional weight, it's just weird. The episode does have minor relevance later in the series due to the Data/Yar intimacy, which is referenced again in Skin of Evil and Measure of a Man. Still, if you're short on time, you can skip The Naked Now and read a synopsis. The character development is negligible and the tonal mismatch is exhausting. 5. When the Bough Breaks, Episode 17. Skip level, high. A planet of advanced beings kidnaps the children of the Enterprise crew because they become sterile and can no longer reproduce. That's the pitch, and somehow the execution is even more lifeless than the premise. The episode focuses on melodramatic performances from child actors, shallow cultural commentary, and one of the weakest alien societies in the season. The stakes are oddly low considering children are involved, and the climax is resolved not through action or drama, but a quiet conversation and a quick beam out. There's a running idea here about overdependence on technology and losing the ability to sustain a society naturally, but it's buried under clunky exposition and uninspired visuals. The entire thing feels like filler. If you're not particularly invested in the ship's children, and let's face it, we barely know them, you can skip this one without blinking. 6. Symbiosis, Episode 22. Skip level, context dependent, but mostly skippable. Symbiosis wants to be profound. It really does. But its heavy-handed say no to drugs message makes it feel more like an after-school special than an episode of Star Trek. The Enterprise encounters two alien civilizations, one addicted to a substance they think is medicine, and the other exploiting them by supplying it. Picard must decide whether to intervene and expose the lie or uphold the Prime Directive and stay out of it. The dilemma is classic Trek, but the execution is stiff, repetitive, and moralizing to the point of parody. Also infamous for being Denise Crosby's final filmed episode, though not aired last, the episode ends with a hollow resolution that feels more like a shrug than a dramatic choice. There's even a wink to the audience with Tasha Yar's awkward drug abuse PSA moment that was tagged on after the fact. Unless you're watching TNG specifically to analyze its approach to moral allegories, this episode is safely skippable. Season 1 isn't hopeless, but it is skippable. To be fair, Star Trek, The Next Generation had to start somewhere. Season 1 is a laboratory of experimentation, sometimes painfully so. The cast is learning their rhythms. The writers are balancing 1980s storytelling with 24th century ideals, and the visual effects are trying their hardest with what they had. There are a few gems in Season 1. The Big Goodbye is a charming holodeck noir that hints at future holodeck greatness. 11001 shows early brilliance with the biners and hints of Data's depth. And Conspiracy is so weird it demands a watch just for the shock factor. But the 6 episodes above? You can absolutely skip them without losing any essential character growth or story arcs. If anything, skipping them might help you get to TNG's golden seasons faster, where the show truly becomes the best version of itself. So don't feel guilty. Even the Enterprise would jettison excess cargo. Final tip for new viewers. If you're starting The Next Generation for the first time and worried about Season 1, consider beginning with